It's known that Baltimore is a city of neighborhoods, but have you explored each one? We invite you to our community, Govans, where our history and stories collide. Learn more about the positive work being done by local neighbors and organizations, working to create a unified and beautiful community for all our residents. Hear our stories, share our history, join us on our journey. Belvedere Square and the shops on Belvedere Avenue were created to be a thriving business area in the 1940s. Lynn Bricks is the former home to Hochschild Cohn's department store, where women would come to get fine goods. In the 1980s, Belvedere Square was officially opened. However, in the next decade, it suffered a steep downturn with high vacancy and drug trafficking. Greg's Bagels is one of the only original store owners at Belvedere Square. However, since the mid-2000s, Belvedere Square has experienced a resurgence, with a thriving market that supports locally owned artisans and small business. Try out a new local flavor and support locally owned business. The Senator Theater is one of the oldest Art Deco movie theaters in the nation. Baltimore had a strong history of neighborhood movie theaters, and the Senator is one of the only remaining open in Baltimore. Since 1939, the Senator has been home to premieres of local Baltimore filmmakers, most notably John Waters of Hairspray. You can take a look at the other local movies on the Senator's unique painted Walk of Fame. After falling into some disrepair, this icon of the York Road corridor went through a $3 million renovation in 2013 to restore the theater to its former glory, and they added 3 new screening rooms. Attend one of their Revival series movies to take a step back in time and enjoy the history of the Senator Theater.
Join us as we meet some of the community partners at St. Mary's.
Hi, my name is Helene Perry, and I'm a parishioner at the St. Mary of the Assumption Catholic Church, more familiarly known as St. Mary's Govans. It's located in the 5500 block of York Road. St. Mary Govans Parish is often called the Mother Church of North Baltimore for good reason. It was founded in 1849 with the original church building located on Homeland Avenue behind what is now Notre Dame of Maryland University. At the time, it was the only Catholic church north of the Baltimore City line. As the population grew, St. Mary's pastors founded mission churches in Hampton, Mount Washington, Towson, and Cockeysville, each of which over the next 40 years became a parish in its own right. An interesting sidelight, I think, is that the original Mount Washington Mission Church was moved and today is located on the Loyola campus as Xavier Hall. The parish was founded in conjunction with an orphanage that had been established in the 1840s near where the Loyola Fact Center is located today. The orphanage housed and trained those unfortunate boys whose families left Ireland during the famine of the 40s and whose family members all perished on their arduous journey to America. As the population in North Baltimore increased, a new larger church was constructed after the First World War in the 5500 block of York Road, and the parish school, founded in 1874, also relocated on York Road. St. Mary's School was closed by the Archdiocese in 2009, sold and became the Tunbridge Charter School 2 years later. A 5-acre cemetery is maintained by the parish at the original Homeland Avenue site. Moving into the area, I saw how St. Mary's Church and the school, while there still was one, had permeated the community over the years as a social and cultural organization, as well as a religious institution. It was a unifying presence among the many changes that have occurred in Govans in the last 50 years. Its influence, together with the other churches on the corridor, was a significant factor during the block-busting days of the civil rights movement. in the 60s and 70s. And together the churches had established the Govans Ecumenical Development Corporation, which has provided shelter and services for the underprivileged in the neighborhood. Parish, after dealing with a few hiccups, has maintained a strong presence on York Road, with its parishioners coming from neighborhoods on both sides of the corridor. And today, St. Mary's is known in the city as being one of the most, if not the most, truly diverse Catholic parishes in the Archdiocese.
Hello everyone, my name is Lisa O'Reilly. Yes, that's an Irish name because that's who I am. I'm from Ireland. I came to Govans 15 years ago in April of 2001, and I came to work for St. Mary of the Assumption Catholic Church in Govans. It's directly across the road from another church called Holy Comforter Lutheran. And that's what brought me here was church initially. And I knew about the York Road Partnership because I used to give the key to the various people who would come to look for it on a Wednesday. But at the time when I first came, I was just so involved in trying to get my work done and my job and immigrate to a new country. But I was very aware at the same time that there was something very special about Govans. I think the first thing you find about Govans is it's very historic. People are very proud of the history of Govans. They're proud of how far back it goes, that it's part of that artery that York Road goes to York, Pennsylvania. You should take a drive, it's beautiful. But in that, there is that special something, and there's a history committee at St. Mary's. And that history committee has done a lot of work to find out what and where Govans came from and what it is today. The York Road is a typical street in Baltimore. It has an east side and a west side. And one of the things I'm most proud about in York Road Partnership is that we try to literally cross the road, that we bring as many people as we can to cross the street. It's countercultural to Baltimore. It could be seen as almost counter-racist. And that's what we want to do. We want to break that hold that this post-segregation world seems to have told us we can never break, which is white people, black people, Asian people, Jamaican people, Irish people can't be in the same place. No, we can. We can, and we do. But we're very conscious and intentional about making sure that we do that. It's not perfect. And I think that's why I stay in the York Road Partnership and why I have stayed in Govans for 15 years. I think it's not perfect, and there's a lot of work here to do. And when you invest in a community, you become invested in too. People know you. And I had an opportunity when I changed jobs about 5 years ago. It was suggested to me. No, actually, so many people asked me, are you moving? Are you moving? And I thought, as a Dubliner, why would I move? It's only 10 more minutes of my journey. But in Baltimore, that's very, very serious. Neighbourhoods are very, very localised. People like their neighbourhood, and if you leave that neighbourhood, you will be missed. If you join a neighbourhood, people are very, very happy to see you. So when people kept asking me, are you leaving? Are you leaving? That made me think for the first time, wow, I actually may be vested here. I think people care. And I went to a York Road Partnership meeting about maybe 2 weeks after starting my new job. And I looked around the room and there was about maybe 40 people at the meeting sitting in a circle. Again, another intentional thing that we do. There's no long straight lines and somebody standing at the top of the room. It's not. It's a circle because that's who we are. And I looked around the circle and I looked at all the different people who were there. The ages, the colours, the socioeconomics, the jobs, the veterans. And I just thought, why would I leave this? Why would I leave this? And then I began to realise I needed it. So Yeah, so Govans is a village, it's a community, it's large. You know, there are other communities within it, like Woodbourne, Mackay, Bracknell, Winston, even down as far as Waverley, Old York Road, Penlucy. There's that sense of Belvedere Square, you know, what has that got to do with? But that's life, thank God. That's what we try to do in Govans, is reflect some sort of life.
Let's hear from Rachel Neal, the program director of GetGo Cares, and the history behind this amazing organization.
My name is Rachel Neal. I'm the program director at GetGo Cares. I've been here on staff for 10 years. Before that, I volunteered here for a few years. GetGo started in 1991. 7 churches on the York Road corridor came together to address the needs of some of their parishioners and neighbors. And it started out as housing, and largely is housing for seniors and formerly homeless individuals. But a big part is the CARES program, which is separate from that, which is our emergency services and the food pantry. So we provide groceries and emergency financial help in the form of fuel fund or rental assistance or prescription assistance. And then we have our job search program, which is about 8 years old, CARES Career Connection. The GetGo mission reads, in partnership with faith-based organizations, GetGo provides affordable housing and supportive services and emergency assistance to community residents. I've always had an interest and a concern about poverty and social justice issues ever since I was a kid for some reason. So I went to law school and worked a little bit as a lawyer at the House of Ruth doing domestic violence work. And then I took some time off and had some children. So I was home with my kids and started volunteering here at CARES. And I found that I really loved it. And the part I liked about being a lawyer was the one-on-one, helping individuals solve their problems. And I find plenty of that here. And I really enjoy connecting with people, hearing their stories, and trying to be helpful and connect people to resources that are out there. And that's what keeps me going, because, you know, there's sometimes it's a lot, and it can be tiring, and sort of you could see how someone could get burned out from this kind of work, but the connections with the people really keep me going.
Let's listen to Miss Tracy and her involvement in GetGo Cares and just how much this program has impacted her life for the better.
Hi, my name is Tracy Haygood. I have been here for 3 years, and I am the supervisor of the pantry on Wednesdays and Thursdays. So I came here and talked to Miss Rachel about it, and she said I could do the hours here. So I had to do 16 hours of community service here. So I completed that. And once I completed, I just stayed. I just love serving people and helping people. I've been doing that all my life. Not even at CARES, but just people in the street, you know, walking down the street may need a quarter, 50 cents for the bus, or if I'm driving and an elderly lady look like she need a ride or flag down, I help them out. That's just my passion. You know, God placed that in me for whatever reason. So serving the people, getting to know them. They constantly come back every 30 days or every other week for a question. And if I can help them, I answer. And if I can't help them, I send them to Miss Rachel. Yeah, I just want to thank CARES just so much for helping me. You know, I pick food up for them also every 30 days for my mom and dad. And I've been dealing with CARES, picking food up for them since 1996. So that's a long time to now, 2016, and here I am still today picking food up from them. So this pantry has really, really helped my family along the way. So I really appreciate anything Miss Rachel has done for me.
Baltimore is known as a city of neighborhoods. Each neighborhood in Baltimore used to have its own recreation center, or at least one within walking distance. In the early 2000s, due to budget cuts, the DeWeese Rec and over 20 other Baltimore recs were slated to close. With a huge amount of community protest and support, the process to close DeWeese Rec was stopped. Since then, over $100,000 worth of investment on behalf of city, private donors, and nonprofits have improved this community resource for youth. Youth in the neighborhoods along the York Road corridor are also getting 2 new school buildings constructed north and south of this rec center, making this the biggest combined investment in youth in our neighborhood in over 50 years. The Homeland neighborhood and its neighbor Guilford to the south are some of the most picturesque neighborhoods in all of Baltimore, and some of the wealthiest. Most people question if they're even in the city anymore when they walk or drive through the neighborhoods. All of the land along the York Road corridor was once owned by gentleman farmers. Both of the tracts of land that now create Homeland and Guilford were sold to the Roland Park Company, who hired well-known architects to design the homes and neighborhood. One of the most well-known of which is Frederick Law Olmsted, who helped to design Central Park in New York City. In addition to the beauty it created, Roland Park Company also has an alternate history of racial discrimination in housing. Their neighborhoods were white Covenant communities. The Roland Park Company employed a number of ways to keep quote-unquote urban filth out of their bucolic neighborhoods. Due to the increase in immigrants and African Americans migrating north in the early 1900s, there was a rise in xenophobia and racism in industrial cities like Baltimore due to the increased competition for jobs. In Roland Park Company deeds, there was no questioning who the company sought to keep out. Quote, "At no time shall the land included in the said tract or any part thereof, or any building erected thereupon, be occupied by any Negro or person of Negro extraction." This prohibition, however, isn't intended to include occupancy by a Negro domestic or servant. End quote. Roland Park Company practices also sought to keep out Jewish people by doing potential buyer follow-ups. If the real estate agent thought a person could potentially be Jewish, their application went into the exclusion file. The Roland Park Company played a huge role in creating the basis for housing policy we see today. The Roland Park Company worked with the Federal Housing Administration, which helped to standardize the practice of redlining. Redlining is the practice of setting higher interest rates on mortgage loans in quote-unquote undesirable communities, usually with a higher number of African American or immigrant families. Although this practice was deemed unconstitutional, this created the basis for much of the segregation we see today in Baltimore and other industrial cities like Chicago and Pittsburgh.
Let's listen to the director of the Glenwood Life Counseling Center, Little Denard, as she shares about her story as well as the history and the mission of the center.
I'm Lil Denard, and I'm the director of Glenwood Life Counseling Center. I live in one neighborhood in this corridor, and I work in another one. So I live in Cedarcroft, which is York Road, Northern Parkway area, and I work in another neighborhood called Woodburn McCabe, which is called Woodburn McCabe because it's bordered by Woodburn on the north and McCabe on the south. So I have spent the last 25 or so years living and working in this corridor. Specifically though, at Glenwood, I have worked here for about 16 years, and I have been the director of this program for 8 of those last 16 years. And Glenwood is what's called a medication-assisted treatment program. And what that means is that there are a million ways to get recovery. There are a million ways to heal from hurt, from mental illness, from substance abuse. But one of the ways, and we offer one of those ways, is to include medication in the regimen. So it means that most of the people who come here have been chronically addicted to opiates like heroin or OxyContin or Percocet. And most of them have tried before to, quote, do it cold turkey. And people will say all the time, I went to treatment, and that means I went away for 28 days. Or I went to detox, and that means I was in the hospital for 3 days and then they let me out. Or I tried that counseling thing, which means they went to see someone once a week and talk about their underlying issues. But every day they still woke up craving this drug. Completely overcome with the idea of using, much like when you're hungry for lunch. You think, I can't hardly do anything else, I'm so hungry. So in addition to counseling, case management, recovery activities, sort of all the biopsychosocial services that people need to get their life back together. We also offer this medication, and it really helps for a lot of our people who have failed over and over and over before and think there's something wrong with me. It helps them to stop being sick, to stop craving, to stop wanting it, and to finally, for a minute, think, I woke up this morning and I don't have to use. And then I can think about, well, maybe I'll get a job, or maybe I'll go back to school, or maybe I'll apologize to the people I've hurt. I'll just start my life. So the mission is to provide quality medication assisted, like I said before, treatment to opiate-addicted people. And we add on in the most respectful and least restrictive manner possible. Because this is not a jail. This is not parole and probation. It's treatment. So we help people with treatment, and treatment works, and we help them begin their recoveries. And that's what I've been doing here for the last 16 years. And on most days, it's really a feeling of helping people make a difference in their lives.
Let's hear from Precious, a client at the Glenwood Life Counseling Center, and her powerful story.
My name is Precious Fraley. I am a client of Glenwood Life Counseling Center, and also I am the president of the client advocacy team here at Glenwood Life Counseling Center. And I am the big sister of Warrior Women at Glenwood Life Counseling Center. I have been at Glenwood since 2010, December of 2010. When I was 31 years old, I had went down a rough road, the disease of addiction. I had become victim of a disease of addiction. And I have been to a few treatment programs, which none of them were good for me at the time. And actually, I was one day in December, I was on my way to Turning Point, and I had gotten lost. And I had winded up down this small street, Glenwood. And there was a few people out, and I was asking for directions, and actually, it was one of the peer case managers. And I told him where I was going, and he said to me, after talking for about 3 minutes, you're at the right place. And I said, what are you talking about? He said, you're at the right place, and trust me. And he started telling me about Glenwood, this building that I was double parked in front of. And I was in the car with my mother, and he said, come on, just go in. And I went in with him, and my mother went to get out the car, and he said, no, not you, just her. And he brought me in, and that day he brought me in, I was on the road to recovery. And I was afraid. I was very afraid because I didn't know what I was going through. I didn't understand the disease of addiction. I didn't know how to recover. I didn't know the tools. I didn't know anything. But it was some really great people here who stuck by me every step of the way.
The crack epidemic in the 1980s struck cities particularly hard. In many urban communities, we see the lasting effects of the, quote, war on drugs. For the Woodburn-McCabe community especially, historical family ties to the drug trade had lasting effects on the residents who live here. Woodburn-McCabe was one of the first integrated neighborhoods on the York Road corridor. The beautiful housing stock was marred by drug violence that occurred in the 1990s. Today, we see a new breath of life in this community. Once vacant or abandoned homes are taking a new form as homes for new families coming to the neighborhood. Due to tireless work on behalf of residents for over a decade, the city agreed to demolition of vacant homes, and Habitat for Humanity purchased 30 homes in the neighborhood for repair. On weekend mornings, McCabe Avenue is a cacophony of lawnmowers, drills, and hammers, with all the residents and organizations working together to renew hope and home for this small neighborhood. A project of Govans Ecumenical Development Corporation, or GEDCO, Micah House is a permanent apartment-style house for men and women who were previously experiencing homelessness in Baltimore. This is just one project created by the partnership of 7 churches along the York Road corridor to meet the needs of local residents who wish to stay in the neighborhood. GEDCO, now a coalition of over 50 Baltimore interfaith groups, has multiple housing opportunities for residents along the York Road corridor. Epiphany House is just north of us near Bologna Avenue, and Gallagher Mansion is literally across the street behind the Loyola Public Safety Campus. GEDCO also manages the Senior Network of North Baltimore, located at Govans Presbyterian Church near Belvedere Square, and the GEDCO Cares Career Connections and Food Pantry. You can hear more about GEDCO Cares by listening to the interviews of Rachel and Tracy who work there.
My name is Christopher Forrest. I currently stay in Winston Govans Neighborhood Improvement Association. I'm also currently president of the York Road Partnership. I've been in Winston Govans for about 11 years and been residing there. I've been president of York Road Partnership. This is actually going on my 3rd term as the president of York Road Partnership. Our mission is pretty straightforward and simple. The mission of the York Road Partnership is to promote the vitality of Baltimore City's York Road community as a desirable urban environment in which to live, shop, work, and worship. As far as the history, I know we've been around since the 1970s. I think we started more of the York PAC organization, where communities got together to look for opportunities to improve the quality of the area. Since then, there's been name change and evolutions, and we have a lot more partners and cooperation that has developed over time. The best part of my work would be just seeing the results, making a difference, seeing the collaboration and people coming together, and then also them seeing that their activity makes a difference. I came involved when I initially became a homeowner. When I moved into Winston Govans in 1995, I was involved with my neighborhood association. Not sure if it was really quick after, it may have been a little bit after, because I knew that, or at least I was accountable or felt accountable that I was part of the community and what I need to do things to make a difference if I wanted to change. So I was just active in that, and being active in my association over time, over a few years, I became more aware of the York Road Partnership, and I attended their meetings periodically, but then started getting involved in larger initiatives, larger activities, or being aware of larger efforts to improve the quality of life for all of us.
Although it may just look like a parking lot, this lot turns into a bustling hub for community each Wednesday in the summertime. The Govans Farmers Market was created in 2011 to meet the food access needs of residents, through support from the York Road Partnership, the Govinstown Business Association, and Loyola's York Road Initiative. Much like all of the work done along the York Road corridor, residents, businesses, nonprofits, and institutions work together to listen and meet the needs of community. In the small building with the green striped awning houses Loyola's York Road Initiative and the York Road Partnership. The York Road Partnership was formed in the early 1990s by residents seeking to work together across neighborhood boundaries to improve their community. Now, with over 20 plus neighborhood, nonprofit, church, and organizational members, the York Road Partnership is one of the strongest community-led volunteer organizations in the city, working to improve the lives of those living, shopping, working, and worshiping along the corridor. Their monthly meetings take place every first Wednesday of the month at 7:15 p.m. at St. Mary's Church. Over 50 people are in attendance each month. As a Catholic Jesuit university in Baltimore, Loyola holds the values of faith, community, and justice. The devastating Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans spurred Loyola to question how they were living their values in the local York Road community. In 2010, after listening to the concerns and needs of over 100 local residents, Loyola launched the York Road Initiative to recommit as an anchor institution to their neighbors. The York Road Initiative seeks to connect resources and work with residents and partners to grow a healthy community for all. The main focus areas of the initiative are the building blocks of any great community: enhancing education and youth development, building strong civic leaders, creating a thriving business corridor, and ensuring access and affordability of fresh food for all residents. The initiative works to bridge campus and community and to move forward short-term and long-term plans for the corridor. Now, under the umbrella of Loyola Center for Community Service and Justice, the York Road Initiative will be working together with residents and neighbors to build community for years to come.
My name is Donna Blackwell, and I am a member, or I live in the Winston-Govins area, which is between York Road and the Alameda. I've lived there all of my life. I guess had to been, my father died in '87, and so around about that time we had a block grant. If you were a homeowner, you could get your house done. And so I believe that's how I started to get involved in it, because my mother didn't know a whole bunch of stuff, how to maneuver the system. So I applied and we got a grant to get siding put on the house. So, now I would say maybe about 15 or maybe longer, because I was in there when the old president was, who was Miss Cedral West, going up there when she was president, because she was unable. She was an older woman, and she was doing all kinds of stuff as it was, so that was not her thing because she had some conflict going on. I'm passionate about it because it's got to happen. We've got to be able to deal with the changes that come through, and if we don't know what to do, how to do it, and when to do it, we're just going to say, woe is me. That's why I'm passionate about change, because it's going to happen regardless. And you got to do what you got to do to get people involved and engaged, to know what's going on. There's so much to do, so many things, so many people to educate about what's going on, how to get organized, how this can help you, and you just keep talking, and sometimes you get some people to join. It's like they say with education, you never know what's going to hit somebody. I guess the best part of it is seeing new people come on board, because you're out there all the time. I'm a constant, and then somebody else will come in, and they'll get involved. So that's the best part, is seeing other people become engaged in what's going on.
and seeing all the things that I see, because there's a lot out there.
Healthy food is a human right, and for many Baltimore communities, there's no access to fresh produce within a quarter mile, creating pockets of food deserts throughout the city. As some people say, these areas are not typically food deserts, but food swamps, bogged down with unhealthy options like fried foods and convenience store items like bagged chips and sodas. In Baltimore City, the number 1 and 2 causes of death are diet and health related, heart disease and cancer. Lack of access, affordability, and quality fresh produce is a public health emergency in our city. Through a partnership between Loyola University's dining company and 3 local corner stores on York Road, access has become a little bit easier for our neighbors. Business owners can now participate in the Fresh Crate program and can order small quantities of produce at no extra charge from the Loyola Dining Company, rather than pay a large delivery fee for drop-off. This connection between small businesses and large anchor institutions help to meet the needs of residents seeking to improve the health of their families and communities. If you haven't yet, please listen to the Homeland and Roland Park Company narrative portion of this tour. This will give some good context for where we are. If you look at the intersection of Northway and York Road, you'll notice 2 things. First, a large stone wall that reaches north to Old Cold Spring Lane and south almost to 42nd Street. Second, you'll notice a one-way sign leading out of the community. Both of these designs were created for the specific reason to keep people out. As discussed in the Homeland narrative, the Roland Park Company, which owned the land for both Homeland and Guilford, employed racist housing practices when it came to deeds and housing applications. However, did you know that design can be segregationist as well? The roads and alleys in the Homeland and Guilford neighborhoods were strategically built to create a sense of, quote, separate kindred clusters. In addition to ensuring that homes were above a certain price point to keep certain classes of people out, Roland Park Company also made sure that new curving neighborhood streets rarely intersected with existing roads, thus hindering access from the city's more modest adjacent neighborhoods, which we see in the Guilford neighborhood. In Homeland, the use of fences and tall hedges are more prevalent. Looking at maps, there are only 2 ways into the Guilford neighborhood, but 4 ways to exit. Is this a familiar practice in other neighborhoods you've been in before? Wilson Park and the adjacent community to the south, Penn Lucy, are some of the oldest historically black neighborhoods in all of Baltimore City. With the move of Morgan State University to this area, which is one of the oldest historically black college or universities in the nation, this brought in a new middle class of educated African Americans seeking to build homes and futures in this section of Baltimore. This area was developed by Harry Wilson, an African American builder around 1917. Many of the houses he built became the homes to Morgan State professors and steelworkers from Sparrows Point Steel Mill. Baltimore has been home to many civil rights advocates, and these neighborhoods are no different. Walter B. Carter, who grew up in the neighborhood and whom the local elementary school was named after, fought blockbusting practices used against black families in Baltimore. Blockbusting is the real estate practice of persuading white homeowners to sell their property cheaply because of the fear of another race or class moving into the neighborhood, creating a profit for real estate agents by selling at a higher price to people of color or a different income level. In addition, many of Baltimore's and America's famous African Americans lived in the area. W.E.B. Du Bois, internationally famous writer and civil rights advocate, U.B. Blake, ragtime jazz composer and performer, and Cab Calloway, jazz singer and bandleader, all lived in these neighborhoods. Listen to a song by Cab Calloway and read a book by W.E.B. Du Bois, and you'll hear the roots of Baltimore and this community in the words and sounds.
Let's hear from Nia Govan, the acting president of the Wilson Park Northern Neighborhood Association.
My name is Nia Govan. I am the acting president of the Wilson Park Northern Neighborhood Association. I've been in that role since November of 2015, but I've actually been in the neighborhood for about 30 years. Wilson Park Northern is actually located essentially York Road and Cold Spring, just south of there. I first got involved in the community, let me say that I actually live on the border street between Wilson Park and Penn Lucy. So my parents were involved in the Penn Lucy Association because they were meeting at the time. And so I got involved in the community by going with my parents to the neighborhood meetings, and therefore from there passing out flyers and newsletters and things for events that they were doing. As an adult, I was able to help Wilson Park get restarted in 2012, and we've been going strong ever since. I'm passionate about the positive change in my community because the community, it can't remain still, and I don't want it to, go a negative route. So we have to do things to make sure the community is progressive in a positive light. Everyone deserves to live in a healthy, happy, fun, nurturing neighborhood. And we have the ingredients to do that. It's a very close-knit neighborhood. I think most everyone knows everyone. And there's a lot of people who actually are related to each other. So there's that family knit kind of tapestry the neighborhood has. I'm proud of prayer walks that the neighborhood's been doing for about 3 or 4 years now. It started out of a need or out of a want to get the drug dealers out of our local park. So we had a person come to only one neighborhood meeting and said, well, what are you going to do about the drug dealers in the park? And it was just, well, why don't we just use the park and walk around it? And then someone said, well, if we're walking around it, we have to pray over it too. So hence came forth the prayer walks.
Let's now hear from Rudy Dehaney, the Youth Young Adult Coordinator at Blessed Sacrament.
Hello, my name is Rudy Dehaney. I am a resident of the Kernwood community, a small community in the Greater Billings area, but we are here and we are involved. I am a Youth and Young Adult Coordinator of Blessed Sacrament Church, and in turn, I also do youth and ministry, youth and young adult ministry for several churches in the Northeast Baltimore. It's called the Northeast Catholic Community. I wish people knew that it's an actual community. We talk to each other, we have fun, we laugh together, we do events, we eat together, always wonderful to eat. We do so many things together, it's like an extra family to me, and I really enjoy that about it. A lot of other communities may not have that, but I think that's really a great part of it, and why I will try to continue to stay here.